in my own hometown. Stranger.
Howdy folks, Little John in the brewery again, and it's nice and early in the morning, and I'm running the first batch through my new Robobrew. I've set him up last night, got the water in for strike water, and set the controller, which is down the bottom here, which you can't actually see in the shot. I'll take a shot of it shortly. So I've set it up. I've got 21 litres in here for today's brew, and I've set it up so when I got this morning it was ready to go. It's got a delay. You can set it up basically the delay. So I set this at 9 o'clock last night. 6 o'clock this morning she woke up, basically started to bring up my temperature. I slept a little bit later than I planned, and by the time I got out of here it actually stepped into the next step, which was my first step is a 54 degree, just a short protein rest. Not really necessary, but I'll explain that as we go. The second step in there was a 68 degree, and it stepped into that, so by the time I got out here it actually gone up to about 62 degrees. It's now sitting on 59, so I'm getting pretty close. By the time I put my grain in there, that's going to get me back somewhere and allow that to run through. But what I'm just quickly doing now is I'm just putting a little bit of salts into the water here. Now, doing a New England IPA today, it's my first one. So I just want to get my chloride and sulfate levels adjusted. So I've gone for around what would have been probably around 3 grams of gypsum, get the sulfate up a little bit, and 10 millilitres of calcium chloride, or 10 grams if you're using dry stuff. And that's all I'm going to add to the water. I'm going to put a little bit of magnesium in as well. I'm not going to worry today, I'll leave that out. I want this water nice and soft, but still having that chloride bite. So that's good. That's our salt added. And now we'll look at getting some grain in, so that this is sitting, she's ready to go. I ran this fella through a trial batch after I unpacked it and obviously to give it a clean out, so just to see how everything ran. Time and everything went really well, so I've put the malt pipe together. I think we're pretty much ready to go, so I'll get this malt pipe in. I haven't got the handle in there at the moment, just so we've got, I think it's going to get in the way a little bit while I'm trying to do what I want to do. The pipe in the middle there, which obviously it's an overflow pipe of some kind, and it also helps with the getting the grain, the mash, the filter. And now there's a filter in the bottom of that malt pipe. It's a double screen. If anyone's seen the original Robobrew, they were a single screen apparently. Now they're a double screen. So it's in there, ready to go. I'm not going to use the top screen, which is how they say to use it, but after watching a couple of videos, I think I want to be able to actually stir the grain during the mash as I go, just to see how as it travels along. I don't particularly know why. I don't know, probably should just run the batch without doing it, but with it being this the New England, there's going to be a lot of oats in there. I'm just a bit concerned about it getting stuck and not circulated properly. So there we go. So let's get some grain in there. So grain build. I did toss up not doing this first batch on the Robobrew because it actually turned up a lot quicker than I thought I ordered it. But it's a little bit big and I want it, but we'll see how we go. So First thing I'm sticking in here, this is 1 kilo of Marris Otter. In. I'm going about 3.5 kilos of Golden Promise. The only reason I've got a mix of Golden Promise and Marris Otter on this is because my mum bought me the pack of Golden Promise for a birthday present, and 4 kilos the bag comes in is not enough to do what I want to do, and I had Marris Otter sitting here, so I've used just the Marris to top up. Now, I only want 3.5 kilos of that. Had a bit of a chop and change with me with the grain. If I go to 4 kilos, I'm going to come out somewhere. I think if I get like the efficiency that I'm expecting to get with this fella, which everyone seems to get, I'm going to finish up around 7%. And this batch is going in the bottle, so that's going to, run me 7.4. It's higher than I want. I don't want it. I want, somewhere around 6.5. So I'm hoping this will get me somewhere in that region. So got the oats. I'm just using straight off the shelf, quick porridge. I'm going for a kilo, so 750 gram bag, so a little bit out of the kitchen cupboard. Not too accurate, that's probably about where we want to be. So it's about a kilo of the oats. And that mash is starting to get very thick. Very thick indeed. We'll keep going. Now, I've got some wheat to put in there as well. A kilo of wheat, which I won't bother showing because at this point it's going to take a while to get me to mash this in properly. So I'll leave this for a minute and I'll come back once we're sort of moving a little bit further. Righto folks, we're having some fun here. Certainly discovered in no uncertain terms that 6.5 kilos is just pushing this thing too far. What's happened is the mash water has ended up going over the side of the malt pipe, and because I didn't have the top screen in, which now would seem like it may have been a good idea, grains and stuff have been running down the outside of the malt pipe, and the pump is now, I don't know if the pump is blocked, but when I've lifted the malt pipe, there is an awful lot of compression in the bottom of the that bottom screen, and it is not draining through. Now, as I said, the bottom screen does have 2 layers. Yeah, it's got the normal plate and then it's got another finer mesh together over the top of it. I think that may be contributing a little bit to the problem. Everything is just full and this malt pipe will not drain. So I'm thinking that's probably more the problem with the pump, that there's actually nothing getting through the malt pipe. So there's nothing sitting underneath the bottom plate to actually run the pump. But so I'm pull the malt pipe. I'm trying to drain this now. I have to do a little bit of fiddling around, transfer stuff. So I'll probably pull it down, give it a clean out, start again. But I'm thinking I'm going to need to pull some of this mash out and maybe just do it in a separate pot. It's just a little bit too much. It wasn't far off, but it was just a little bit. So we'll see how we go. Like I said, I think that having top screen probably would have helped, would have stopped the grain from coming up. So it would only been water. Well, yeah, basically wort running back on the side, and it wouldn't have mattered so much. The biggest problem I've got at the moment is I just don't know if anything's really got down to the bottom, grain wise, and I certainly don't want anything down there burning while I'm trying to while we're going through the process. So at the moment I'll keep playing around with this, and we'll come back and hopefully once we're up and running properly again. Rightio, we're continuing on. We've gone past our main mash step, which was set at 67 degrees. That sat for about an hour and 15 minutes. Obviously with the settings on the Robobrew, each step you need to allow for the time it takes to get from the previous step. So I'll step from 60, that's 54 as the mash in, that protein rest, then step to the 67. So I programmed that step to be an hour and a quarter, allowing for the raise in temperature. That took, close like I said, I wasn't completely watching it. This is the beauty, this is part of the beauty of the Robobrew and where it works well, you know, the grain farmer and these sort of systems, is that I can just walk away and it's doing its thing. It took about 13 or 14 minutes. On my test the other day, this was ramping up. It was taking about a minute and 10 seconds per degree to raise the temp. I'm actually getting better than that this morning for some reason. It's actually been a fraction under a minute per degree. So it took about 13 minutes. I come in at 14 minutes into that, and it was at the next step at the 67, just clicking in there. So so you need to allow for that. So basically we've had an hour-long mash at that 67. I'm then ramped it up to where it is at the moment, which is 75 for a mash out. And that's going to be it. And I'll set that for half an hour. And I think we've got, I'll tell you what, it's 13 minutes through that. It took about 9 minutes to raise that extra, it was at 7 degrees. So obviously as the temperature's getting higher, it's taking a little bit longer to raise the temperature. And again, that's sort of more that, you know, minute 10 seconds per degree, which isn't bad. When you don't get much better than that on any sort of system. I don't get really any better on that running the 3V with a big gas burner under the pot or with the HLT. So I mean that's fairly standard. Nothing wrong with that. So this is coming through. I've run a refrac check just a minute ago. Wort's sitting at about 1076. So I think by the time we finish and we sparge through this, we're going to be somewhere around where we want to be, which is I'm not sure off the top of my head. I can't think where it was. I adjusted the number this morning, last thing before I put the batch on. So the numbers will all be in the bottom. And again, I really don't know what I'm aiming for. I don't know what efficiency I'm going to get. That will all be come out in the wash at the end and see where we finished at. And given that we had the muck up with the with the grain earlier, I don't really know how that's going to turn out anyway, and how effective that's going to be going forward. But it's got to give you a bit of an idea. But things are going along. I've got sparge water there heating up. It's ready to go. So this will have another 15 minutes, and we'll pull the malt pipe out and start draining and sparging and getting this thing up to a boil. So I'm going to sit down there in a minute. I'm going to get on with the hops, and we'll have a bit of a chat about what's going in here. Okay, so tell me we're at a boil here. I can't really tell. So I'm adding this extra grain mash back in. Push back the volume. And I've taken that took the top plate off first once it drained down to the bed, and just let that continue to drain. And then we'll start sparging slowly now. I think the idea is ideally that you still have that top screen on and you sparge over the top of that to avoid stirring up the bed. But I've got a little bit of clearance there, so I'm happy with that. And yeah, it's a little hard to tell if that's actually boiling down there with the drain off going in there, but it's working. The controller's telling me I'm at 100 degrees, so I assume there's a boil happening. Now, one thing I have really noticed, and that's, and you can't see from here, the controller being on the bottom, it's set up, and the steps, the 6 programmable steps sit across along the top of the screen. It says S1, S2, blah blah, S3 to S6. And when you program, you go through and you can pick which one you want, and it steps through as it's going. It shows you which one you're on. Problem is, if you're not looking directly at that screen, you can't see those step numbers. So from here, I've got to really get down there almost on the floor to see what step it's at. I was perched up on an upside down milk crate just to give a little bit of height, but then that made it a little bit difficult to lift the malt pipe. It might have helped if I didn't have 7 kilos of grain in there, but obviously it would be a little bit easier with some sort of lifting mechanism with a winch or a hook, which obviously I don't have. I've got to lift manually, so I need to do it from the floor just to give that little bit extra leverage. Yeah, not as strong as on my floors. So it's a little inconvenient. But as I said, if you were setting up a hook, and I could say sit up here on the bench, where that screen's going to be more at eye level, it wouldn't be a problem. So it's only a minor issue, but I think it would have worked much better if those steps were somewhere else on the screen. There seems to be plenty of room at the bottom of the screen where there's a little fucking dancing robot, where you could have actually put that along the bottom somewhere where it was easier to read. Because even when it's up higher, it still gets lost on the angle. But it's only a minor flaw. You know, it's not wrecking the brew dome. It's not going to kill anybody. So, just slowly going to sparge this as we go through. I'm not sure exactly if I've got the right volume here. It's pretty close, so I'm going to sparge the whole lot, and we'll deal with what we've got at the end. At the end of the day, it just turned out to be a 5.8% or 6.3% beer. It's not going to really matter one way or another too much. as I said, it's just going through doing the process. And it's normally I would do this heat through the HLT or through the boil kettle with the markings, so I know what I had. Because I've had to play around with taking the mash off, and I've had to add extra water to that to keep its mash temperatures running on line with what's in here. It's thrown us out a little bit, but I think I'm going to be pretty close. Going off sites and known volumes of the pots I'm using, I think I'll be very close. And again, I'll throw the numbers in the comments down below for the recipe. For those that are interested. Righto, let's talk hops. Hops, obviously, New England IPA. Hops are probably the most important factor. So what we've got going on is obviously a multi-step. And what I've gone with, I'm doing a little bit of hops in the boil to get some underlying bitterness and a little bit of flavour, and then building up obviously with the style over the whirlpool and the dry hopping. So I'm going for 9 grams of Columbus. I was going to go Warrior, but I've changed my mind. Stuck with Columbus. It was easy. I didn't want to crack a big bag of Warrior just for a couple of grams for today. So I said 9 grams. And I'm going to boil that for 40 minutes. It's been a 60-minute boil. I'm only doing a 40-minute boil because by the time we do the whirlpool and the cooling, there's going to be a lot of extra contact time. It's a 20-minute whirlpool, 5 minutes to drop down to the whirlpool temp, so the 25 minutes of contact there at utilisation temperatures. So it's going to give you around the same mark. So I've run my numbers as this being a no chill brew, and that gets me somewhere where I want. So 7 minutes left of the boil with 15 grams of Columbus, and then 18 grams of Mosaic with 3 minutes left in the boil, and then some Citra, 20 grams of Citra at flameout. But whirlpool, once we start cooling, once we get to 80 degrees, I'll drop in 20 grams of Simcoe. And as I said, that whirlpool will sit for 20 minutes before we kick off into the final cooling stage. And from here I'll be dry hopping. I'm going to stick 30 grams of Cascade straight into the fermenter when we're done. And then day 2 we'll have 50 grams of Citra. Day 4, 30 grams of Columbus. And then day 6 there'll be 50 grams of Simcoe. So what we're looking for is that building of the hops, and getting more and more in there, and really building up that that work on that. So this is this is unusual for me. It's not really how I like doing my hops. But this is the style at the moment. I need I've got to see what it's like. I am getting more used to using hops and late hops and stuff. Late hop pale ale recently and stuff. So we'll see how we go. So we'll be back, continue on with the cooling process, and we'll come back and have a bit of a look later. Okay, boil's finished, and pumps are off. Just pump elements are off. Just the pump running and cooling down. The spider and the bags for the flameout hops and the chiller. Now, this is one of the merchants I got, the Robobrew, and one I'd previously purchased off another fella who didn't use his off the Robobrew. So that's currently just got water in it. Till we get to 80, we're going to do the whirlpool. And then once the whirlpool's finished, I'll top that esky up with ice. And we'll continue with the cool, which will run straight to the fermenter. Okay, so whirlpool's finished. Top the esky up with ice, and we're running straight to the fermenter. And this seems to be working really well, so I'm pretty happy with that. And it's taken a hydro sample, and it's sitting on about 1061. I was looking for 1062, so seems we're pretty much on par, even with the bit of a with the buck around. So I'm pretty happy with that. Now we'll just see what volume we get. I was 2 litres down on the pre-boil volume, so we'll see where we finish. Okay, we're all finished. Boil's over, cooling's done. Wort's in the fermenter. Fermenter's in the fermenting fridge. And it's sitting on 20 degrees. It peaked at 20.6 and I put it in there, so that the double chiller and the ice has worked really well. I'm really happy with that. That's fantastic. That is so much easier than any other method I've used. A little bit of ice, simply run it through, no problem, and that'll all just clean out when I clean the Robobrew out when I do a flush through. So I'm really happy with that. So I'm ready to pitch yeast now. I've got 19 litres into the fermenter. I was looking for 23. As I mentioned previously, I really did think I was down on volume initially. I was down 2 litres on the boil. Now again, I've run with numbers from my 3V system. I ramped up that Robobrew ran. I ran it with both elements cranked up, and I would dare say I've got a much bigger boil off than I was allowed for. That's okay, we can play with that going forward. Probably could have cranked the smaller element off and just run the 1900 element to maybe control the boil a little bit more. Might have been a bit more effective, but not a biggie. I'm not really too concerned about that. I said I was looking for 1062. I think I've got 1061. So numbers wise it's fine. So it's just a little bit of adjustment to be made to volume numbers and the efficiency numbers that I'm using. But that's alright. With the muddle up that happened with the grain at the start of the day, I pretty much wasn't going to hit me numbers today. But I'm pretty happy to get the gravity I want. This is all going in bottles, so I don't need to hit volumes in kegs or anything, so that'll be fine. So it's pitching yeast shortly. What I'm using is obviously chosen method, Wyeast London Ale3. Done a 2 litre starter on this during the week. My estimation is I'll be pitching somewhere around about 280 to 300 billion cells. Calculator tells me I need somewhere around 240 to 250, I think it was by memory. I did make a much bigger starter. I've split it. I whacked it off. I took a vial off. I took about 35-40 mils of yeast off for Nathan. He's gone home. He came and picked it up during the middle of the brew, and he's gone home now. He's in the middle of doing his a New England IPA as well. So we'll do an IPA off in a little while. See how they compare. He goes a bit harder on hops than what I do. So that'll be another interesting thing to look at down the track. Whether you folks at home get to see, that's another matter. So I'm going to pitch that very shortly, and then clean up. So obviously, overall impression on the Robobrew. I said this when recently when I did the brew on the Grainfather. These setups, they're fantastic. They really are. They're simple, they're straightforward to get everything done. Small footprint. The step controlling and the programmable mashing, it's absolutely brilliant. It really is. It's great. I was able to get me water in last night. We mash water, get basically set up, and delay a start, so that when I come out at 7 o'clock this morning, I was ready to just, basically drop the malt, drop the grain into the thing, and away it goes. It stepped up, barring the dramas with the too much grain. From that point on, once I sorted that out, everything went bloody smoothly. Beautiful. I've not got water all over the floor, which I quite often do with my 3V system, bloody hoses and things going everywhere. A little bit of hose off here, hose on there to get the chiller connected, but that was simple. All happened easy. So, well, yeah, great bit of gear. It really is. If you're thinking about getting one, and you want to if you're looking to get into all grain without spending a lot of money and still getting something that's going to work, going off today, I've got to say, go for it. Of course, it's going to come down to taste testing and all the rest of it. I did miss a little bit the hands-on with the 3V and getting a little bit more involved, but not everyone's got the time to do that. If you're a little bit pushed and you can't just hang out and do your brew and take a couple of hours out to do it, then that's a little bit easier. I didn't. There was waxer time where I basically from putting the grain in. If I've had a normal grain build, it wasn't going to cause a problem. I knew what was those problems that I had initially weren't going to happen. From mash in to cooling, it happens pretty much seamlessly. The most you got to do is walk out at the right time, pull the malt pipe up so it drains, and do a quick sparge. And again, I did that by hand. Had I been using an urn or my boil kettle that actually had a tap, I could have just turned the tap on and just let that run. And again, that would be a little bit of playing around to get that right and to get your speed right. But again, you can do it fairly much automatic without being there, babysitting it. So I give it a thumbs up. Same as I did with the Grainfather. How does it rate quality wise? Look, I'm not going to say. I mean, it's done fine today. I've seen no issues. How it goes long term is a different matter. But I was happy with it. I'll definitely use it again. I'll recommend it. Get out there and get one if you're thinking about it and you're waiting to pull the trigger. Do it. They are fantastic. You won't regret it. So that's me for today. Robobrew, brew number 1 done. New England IPA, first one done. Ticked a few more boxes off today. So that's little John. Gonna go and do what I need to do. Finish this off, and I'll see you next time we're playing with beer, making beer, drinking beer, talking about beer. Seems to be a lot of things about beer going on around here. I wonder why. Anyway, till next time. Good brewing.